The good news is that there are new relief plans that have been passed, and the millions of low-income households will qualify for additional benefits this month. Extra SNAP benefits are set to go out to eligible Americans this week, but Republicans want to make a big change that may lead to less people qualifying for the benefits. Folks, this is important. The Republican leaders are now pressing to tighten work requirements for food stamps and other government assistance programs as a way to slash the federal spending. Any cuts Republicans suggest will instantly be criticized by Democrats, leaving the GOP party toiling to cobble together a budget plan that can win the support of all Republicans. And with a raise at the majority and Democrats suddenly opposed to spending cuts on the scale that they are demanding, Republicans can afford no more opposition in their own ranks if they hope to pass a fiscal plan. They have already rolled out reductions to Medicare or Social Security, and top House Republicans have made increasing work requirements for participants in the SNAP, one of the central elements of whatever spending blueprint that they will ultimately release. Republicans have framed it as a straightforward way to curtail what they believe is the nation's out-of-control spending. Plus, they argue that it would also lift Americans out of poverty. Republicans may soon be forced to put the matter into a vote. Kevin McCarthy told reporters last week that House Republicans could soon move on a bill modeled on a letter that he sent to President Biden last month. The letter outlined spending cuts, including strengthening work requirements for those without dependents who can work. Representative Dusty Johnson of South Dakota earlier said that this year's legislation would also make able-bodied adults without dependents subject to work requirements until they are 65, raising the current age from 49. The bill would substantially narrow an exemption from work requirements for some people in households with children younger than 18, excusing only those whose incomes are less than 7. The additional federal funding for the SNAP program ended on March 31st, and now SNAP benefits have returned to the standard amount. The additional funding, which began in spring, was meant to help people who are out of jobs and struggling during this time. Despite the seeming end to the crisis, many households are still struggling to put food on the table, especially with the rising cost of goods. On average, households will receive at least $95 a month. Some households who are under regular SNAP rules receive low benefits as well because they have somewhat higher bills but still modest incomes. I also want to say that on average, households will receive $95 less a month. Some households who are under SNAP rules will receive lower benefits because they are somewhat higher but still modest incomes. So that's kind of good for some people. And West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources will be able to issue extra benefits through the summer for eligible residents. That's according to a press release. The president and the benefits will be available for certain people, everybody. That means we'll be getting more stimulus checks very fast and much sooner than expected. Because hundreds of thousands of Massachusetts families receiving food aid through the SNAP will get extra payments of at least $38 a month. Now, days after the governor signed into law a spending bill to create an off-ramp for a now expired federal enhancement to SNAP, the Department of Transitional Assistance announced the first payments will flow in April. And now the governor has also signed a bill to help people out.
Well, there's more bad news that came out last Friday for families who are struggling in the Biden economy. The economic headlines point out that people are falling further behind. Prices keep going up and wages can't keep up. So people are feeling stuck, stressed, and squeezed. So it's no surprise then to see the Washington Post ABC poll number showing that more than 9 in 10 Americans reported concerns about rising prices. 9 in 10 Americans. And for people that have savings, what they're seeing are their savings melting away. So we have this combination of soaring inflation and a stagnant economy. We haven't had that since the 1970s. They call it stagflation. So people are actually feeling poorer, and the reason they're
Now, everybody, gas prices are beginning to increase again. That's some sad news, but the Democrats and Republicans are now discussing the next steps that will be taken to address the soaring inflation rate. So far, several lawmakers have already proposed a one-time stimulus check for pretty much all Americans, while others have also put forward legislation that would actually give monthly relief checks, but to a more targeted group of people. Now, this may mean some people may be left out of extra financial aid. And also, Governor Newsom is criticizing the oil companies who we say are fleecing Californians with gas prices that are disproportionately and higher in the Golden State. In a recent video, Newsom said that in the windfall tax, it would ensure the profits go directly back to help millions of Californians who are paying for the high gas prices. Democratic leaders in the California legislature do support the windfall tax on the oil profits, and while Republicans believe Newsom should suspend the state gas tax to provide some relief at the gas pump, it's just not happening. Gas prices in California continue to creep up again, reaching an average of $6.30 a gallon for regular on Saturday. And according to multiple sources, in Los Angeles, gasoline prices hit $6.50. That's up from 7 cents a day before. How can things like this happen, everybody? Well, Newsom is saying that the degree of diversions from the national prices have never happened before, and oil companies provide no explanation. And we're not going to stand by while oil companies negatively affect Californians. Explanations for the rise in fuel costs have ranged from refinery maintenance, Hurricane Ian, and increasing demand as well. AAA data shows that Californians are being disproportionately impacted, so this might not be a good thing for California. California has seen gas prices climb by more than $1 per gallon over the past month nationally, while prices have decreased by 3 cents all across the United States. Newsom recently announced that oil refineries could roll out winter blend gasoline ahead of schedule, which could reduce the gas price of up to 25 cents a gallon. Starting next week, millions of Californians will also begin receiving tax refunds of up to $1,000 just to help offset rising inflation. Several other states are already sending taxpayers money to help them cope with inflation, and in Georgia, taxpayers received up to $500 in one-time tax refunds over the summer. So the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, he said this, everybody. He said as hardworking Georgians face rising inflation caused by federal government policies, we are doing what we can to provide relief by returning their money back into their pockets. In other places like Colorado, states are required by law to return excess state revenue to taxpayers. So tax rebates have already been sent out that were worth around $700.50 just for the individual tax filers, everybody, and $1,500 for joint filers. So it's labeled as a cashback program. The Democratic governor, Jared Polis, said the state moved up sending the refunds by about a year because residents needed it now and sooner than later. But not only that, almost everybody has felt the sting of rising prices. As of August, 60% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck. And not only that, but a jump from the previous year's 38%, CNBC News stated that more consumers are living paycheck to paycheck indicates that many people are continuing to lose their financial stability. The Consumer Price Index, for one, has measured the average change in prices for consumer goods and services. It rose higher than expected in 8.3% in August. It's driven by increases in food, shelter, and Medicare care costs. So, although the average hourly earnings also rose a seasonally adjusted 0.2% for the month, they remain down 2.8% from a year ago, which means those paychecks don't stretch as far as they used to. It's not a good thing, everybody. And a separate report by Bank of America found that 71% of workers feel their pay is not enough to keep up with the cost of living, bringing the number of people who feel financially secure to a 5-year low. Many Americans are dipping into their cash reserves, and nearly half are falling